It's safe to say that 2026 is looking like a pretty incredible year for JRPGs. And basically, if you love JRPGs, you are absolutely going to be eating good next year. You really are. So without wasting any more time, as always, I'm Daniel, and today, 15 best new JRPGs to keep on your radar. So starting off at number 15 is The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky Second Chapter Remake. Basically, if you played the first chapter remake that dropped recently, you just know the story isn't over. In fact, it feels like it's barely started. Falcom knows they can't leave us hanging, which is why they're fast-tracking the second chapter for a late 2026 release. This is where the gloves come off. The training wheels are gone. The world opens up, the stakes get drastically higher, and we finally get to see the full scope of what the villains are actually planning. Now, I feel like we can expect the same gorgeous 3D engine overhaul we just got, seamless exploration, snappy combat with a much bigger scale. SC is famous for being massive. The script is huge, the difficulty, the script is huge, the map is huge, and the difficulty usually steps up a notch. If FC was the appetizer, this might be the main course. And I really don't think you are ready for the emotional roller coaster this game is going to put you through. This is essentially the direct continuation, and I just can't wait to see how it plays out.
To pass through that door.
So next, over at number 14, is The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennial Tales. Okay, so remember when we all thought Team Asano was only going to do turn-based games? Well, they proved us wrong because they dropped the demo for this on the Switch 2 eShop a while back, and it honestly feels like the modern Secret of Mana we never really got. The premise is pretty classic. You're a young adventurer named Elliot, you've got a fairy companion named Faye, and you're exploring ruins outside the kingdom of Huther. But then you find the doorway of time, and suddenly you're jumping between eras to stop these beast tribes from wiping out humanity. You see, the Millennial Tales got that Chrono Trigger DNA, where you change something in the past and see the immediate effect in the present. And yes, the gameplay is the real surprise here. It's a full-on action JRPG, and it feels a lot like Zelda. You've got your sword, your bow, your bombs to blow up cracked walls. It's very familiar, and with that HD 2D stuff, that coat of paint, you can actually have a second player control Faye to help with puzzles or stun enemies. It's definitely a bit of a departure for Square Enix's retro team, and I don't know if by any chance you played the demo. If you did, I think we can all agree that they kind of nailed it here. And if you didn't play the demo, well, it's landing sometime in 2026. We don't know the exact date yet, but one thing is certain, The Adventures of Elliot, The Millennial Tales, is coming soon.
On Nintendo Switch 2 next year. After today's presentation, a debut demo will...
At number 13 is Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. The original Dragon Quest VII has a reputation. It's massive and it's a slow burn. There's that famous joke that you don't even fight a slime for the first 2 hours. But I think this is a bit different, or maybe very different. The premise is still that classic fragments of the forgotten past storyline. You are rebuilding the world literally piece by piece, island by island, and obviously the first thing to notice here is the visuals. And that's because they went for this kind of handcrafted aesthetic, where they reportedly used actual physical dolls and dioramas and scanned them into the game. And it really doesn't look like a video game. And the gameplay seems to be respecting your time a lot more now. And it's worth mentioning that they introduced this new moonlighting system, which basically lets you equip 2 vocations at once. It means you don't have to grind for maybe 40 hours just to get the good hybrid skills anymore. So this is dropping on the 5th of February on basically everything, and I don't know if you were ever maybe intimidated by the sheer size of Dragon Quest VII before. This reimagined version looks like the perfect way to finally experience it.
Dragon Quest VII Reimagined.
That's the spirit. Look out.
What we have at number 12 is Tales of Berseria Remastered.
Berseria is a fantastic game, but I really have to wonder why they are even making this in the first place. The original came out in 2016, and it still plays perfectly fine. Like, it's not that old if you come to think about it. When you look at the Tales back catalog, you've got Tales of the Abyss stuck on the 3DS and PS2. You've got even Tales of Eternia. Those games deserve some love, but instead they're remastering the one game that arguably didn't need it yet. But anyway, that being said, if we put the why aside and just look at the what, this is still one of the best stories the series has ever told. You play as Velvet Crow, who is arguably the edgiest, angriest protagonist I have seen. Her life gets completely destroyed by her brother-in-law in the name of saving the world, and she spends the next 40 hours just absolutely tearing through everything to kill him. It's a revenge story, pure and simple. For the remaster, dropping in late February, of course they are promising 4K support, unlocked frame rates on consoles, and included DLC costumes, so you don't have to pay extra for the swimsuit outfits this time. They also mentioned rebalanced dungeon traversing, which hopefully means they fixed those long, empty hallways from the original. So is it necessary? No, not really. But is it a bad game? Absolutely not. The combat is fast, the soul break system is satisfyingly aggressive, and the cast of misfits is top tier. Basically, if you missed it the first time, this is the version to get. Coming in at number 11, we have Starbites. Starbites looks like the kind of game we used to get on the PS2 all the time, but with good graphics. And it has actually been on my radar for a while now. It dropped in Japan this year, but we are getting it early next year. The setting is this desert planet called Bitter, which is basically a giant junkyard left over from a space war, and you play as Lukita, a scavenger who is just trying to scrape by in Delight City. It's got a really unique, cheerful dystopia vibe. Like, the world is ruined, everything is covered in sand and rust, but the characters are vibrant, and the music is surprisingly upbeat. The big draw here is the motorbots. You aren't just walking around, you're piloting these customizable mechs, and the customization seems deep. I'm talking swapping out engines, weapons, armor. And the best part is that your custom mech actually shows up in the cutscenes. So what else? The combat is turn-based, and you can steal extra turns if you play aggressively, making it feel snappy. It's coming to PC, PS5, and yes, the Switch too. If you miss that era of sci-fi JRPGs like Wild Arms or Xenosaga, this is definitely one to watch. At number 10 is Decapolice. Level 5 has been teasing us with this one for what feels like an eternity. It was supposed to be a 2023 title, then 2024, and so on. The premise here is incredibly cool because you play as Harvard Marks, a rookie detective, but you aren't just walking around solving crimes the old-fashioned way. You use this thing called DecaSim, which is a perfect virtual copy of reality. You dive into the simulation to find clues that might have been lost in the real world. So, it's an open-world crime thriller, but when you confront a suspect, it shifts into a full-on turn-based RPG battle. You aren't just shooting them, you're engaging in negotiations that play out as combat. You have to break down their malice gauge to arrest them, or, you can just knock them out if they resist. The visual style is pure level 5. It looks like a high-budget anime. And from what I've seen of the investigation mechanics, it's not just the follow the waypoint or something. You actually have to use your brain to deduce the culprit. Level 5 has said the delays were to ensure the open world felt dense and the story landed perfectly. I mean, what else could they have said? Considering their track record with Layton and Inazuma, I think I'm willing to forgive the wait. If the mystery is as good as the combat looks, this could be the sleeper hit of the year.
Welcome to the end, hero.
At number 9, we have Threads of Time. Many of you guys were annoyed that I didn't include this game in my previous video, so here you have it. Threads of Time is undeniably wearing its inspiration on its sleeve. This is a massive, unapologetic love letter to Chrono Trigger. I mean, you can't be a huge fan and not immediately fall in love with this game. You are playing as the Time Guards, traveling through different eras to save the timeline. And I mean different eras. We've seen a prehistoric age where you're fighting dinosaurs, a medieval fantasy setting, and then jumping straight into a far-flung sci-fi future with neon lights and robots. This feels a bit more modern than something like Octopath, and the combat is turn-based, focusing on these team combos, where characters from different eras combine their abilities. Basically, if you've played Sea of Stars or the classic Chrono games, you know exactly how satisfying that feels. But they're also teasing some time manipulation mechanics during battle, which honestly we still need to see more of, but the potential there is crazy. It's being developed by Rio Games, and for an indie debut, the scale here is ambitious. We don't have a concrete release date nailed down to the day yet, but all signs are pointing to a 2026 launch.
Prepare to remake history.
Down at number 8 is Persona 4 Revival. So, Atlas are ready to do everything but not the Persona 6. But anyway, after the massive success of Persona 3 Reload, we all just kind of knew deep down that this was coming. It was just a matter of time. If you've played Reload, you know exactly what we're getting here. We are going back to the sleepy town of Inaba, but this time it's obviously not going to look like a PS2 game upscale. The fog effects, the rain, the weird psychedelic vibes of the TV world all seem to look incredible in the previews, making it honestly feel like a completely new place. Persona 4 Revival is promised to be as modernized to match the Reload and the Persona 5 standard. That means we're getting a proper shift mechanic, or baton pass, in Persona 4. The dungeon crawling, which was the weakest part of the original, has been supposedly overhauled to be less repetitive, meaning no more endlessly generated hallways that all look the same. I really don't have much stuff to say for this one, though. It's slated for mid-2026, and while we are all desperately waiting for the next mainline entry, stepping back into the shoes of the investigation team is a pretty good way to kill time. Every day is great at your Junes, right? At number 7, we've got Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. Fortune's Weave looks like a very, very promising game. Rumors had been circulating for months, and of course, we are officially moving on to the Switch 2. The premise this time is shifting away from the typical, warring kingdoms setup we usually get. Instead, we're thrown into the Heroic Games, a massive gladiatorial tournament hosted by the Divine Sovereign. You're a participant fighting for glory in the arena, and one thing that I am still trying to wrap my head around is the Fodland connection. We saw a character who looks suspiciously like an older Sothis. Whether this is a distant sequel to Three Houses or some weird alternate timeline, we don't know yet, but the theories are already wild. So they're introducing Blaze Arts. It looks like you spend HP to execute powerful moves directly on the map. Just let me say, it's kind of like a risk-reward system from Echoes, but dialed up to 11 or something. To cut the long story short, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is slated for next year. And frankly, after Engage focused so much on combat, seeing them lean back into a heavy, mysterious narrative seems great. Up at number 6, we have Lost Helden. Lost Helden is coming from Artisan Studios, and it's flying a bit under the radar for some people. But if you appreciate artistry in your games, like if you're the type of person who pauses just to look at the background art, this is for you. The first thing that hits you is the visuals. It looks like a moving painting. It's not quite Octopath, and it's not quite Vanillaware. It's something new. And there is a reason it looks and sounds so good. The illustrations are by the people who worked on Gravity Rush and Siren, and the music is by Sakimoto, the Final Fantasy XII and Tactics Ogre legend. The story is set on a planet called Era, where every single person is bound to one of the 7 deadly sins at birth, via this thing called the Nexus Ritual. You spend your whole life fighting against that urge so you don't, turn into a mindless beast. The main character, Seifel, is unique because he has no sin, while his twin brother Leth has all 7 of them, which, as you can imagine, causes some family drama. The gameplay is also trying something different, but it's actually kind of familiar. You have to position your characters in real time to take advantage of the environment, but it still has that strategic command feel of a turn-based game. It was originally slated for this year, but with the scope of what they're trying to do, 2026 is looking like the realistic window. So coming in at number 5 is Ys 10 Proud Nordics. This is the Proud edition. I don't know who at Felcom names these things, but Proud Nordics is certainly a choice. But jokes aside, this is the definitive next-gen upgrade. It's launching February 20th, specifically targeting the Switch 2 and PS5. If you played the original release, you know the combat was already fantastic. That cross-action system where you control Adol and Karja simultaneously is some of the best stuff Felcom has ever done. So, of course, this version is adding a significant chunk of new content. We're talking new endgame bosses, new mana actions for traversal, and extended story content that fleshes out the Obelia Bay lore. Visually, the original Switch port was great, but it struggled a bit in the open seas. The Proud version is promising 4K 60 FPS on consoles and way better draw distances. If you held off on buying it because you were waiting for the complete experience, or if you just want an excuse to sail the Sandras again with better graphics, this might just be absolutely the version to get. Because, I don't know, Adol Kristen never rests, and apparently, neither does Felcom. At number 4 is Monster Hunter Stories 3, Twisted Reflection. So if you told me earlier this year, or maybe a year ago, that we were getting another Stories game this soon after Wilds, I would have called that a joke. But apparently Capcom just doesn't stop. The premise this time is a bit darker. I mean, you can literally see the title, Twisted Reflection. You're dealing with this phenomenon called the crystal encroachment that is crystallizing the land and driving monsters out of their habitats. And you play as the captain of the Rangers, which is a nice step up from just being a rookie rider. And you're tasked with protecting endangered eggs. And the central mystery involves twin Raffaloses hatching from a single egg, which usually implies some sort of good twin, evil twin catastrophe is about to happen. Gameplay-wise, the rock, paper, scissors turn-based combat is back, and now you've got habitat restoration. It looks like you actually have to heal the land to unlock new areas, and maybe even cure crystallized variants of monsters. Anyway, it's launching on basically everything. The Switch 2, PS5, PC on the 13th of March, 2026.
No doubt he'll try.
And number 3 is Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties. RGG Studio is essentially giving us a 2-in-1 package that is honestly way more ambitious than anyone expected. First, let's talk about the Kiwami 3 part. We are going back to Okinawa, and the water, the beaches, the sunsets over Morning Glory Orphanage looks very, very incredible. You play as Kiryu, trying to leave the Yakuza life behind to raise his kids, but, spoiler alert, the Dojima family drags him back in. The old Block Yuza 3 jokes, I think we might just have to forget them now, because enemies seem to actually take damage now. They've added a new style, which is weapon-based, using nunchucks and kali sticks, and a bad boy dragon mode where you lead a motorcycle gang with the orphanage kids, which really sounds ridiculous, but that's why we love it. But the real headline here is Dark Ties. This is a full Gaiden-style campaign where you play as Yoshitaka Mine. If you're a fan of the series, you know Mine is one of the best antagonists in the franchise, and we finally get to see his backstory, how he went from a white-collar businessman to the rough of the Tojo clan. So Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties has a set release date, and we hope it's final. As of right now, it's dropping February 12th, and it's coming to the Switch 2 on day 1. At number 2, we have Suikoden Star Leap. This is the first original Suikoden story we've had in a decade. It's set in solar year 453, so it's a prequel to the first game but takes place after Suikoden 5. You play as a hunter from a village near the Scarlet Moon Empire, and the story revolves around the Rune of Change, which is a brand new true rune that supposedly messes with time. The gameplay is classic Suikoden. We're talking 6-party turn-based battles, base building where you watch your village grow as you recruit people, and collecting the 108 Stars of Destiny. The art style is this gorgeous, rich pixel aesthetic that feels right at home next to Octopath. Sure, there are gacha elements for recruiting legacy characters like Flick and Victor, but the core story content is free. And with the Suikoden 2 anime also dropping in 2026, this feels like Konami is finally trying to restart the heart of the franchise. If this is the price we pay to get Suikoden back, I'll take it. And finally, at number 1 is, of course, The Legend of Heroes Trails Beyond the Horizon. If you follow this channel, you know I have been obsessing over this particular game for a while now, and I just can't wait, because this is the big one, the 20th anniversary title, the beginning of the end for the Zemirian continent. For the longest time, we knew this as Kai no Kaseki, but we are getting the Western release in a few weeks from now, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The premise revolves around the eternal recurrence prophecy and humanity's first attempt to breach the atmosphere. So the story takes us to the Ored state, which we've heard about since Sky the Third but never actually visited, where the Marduk company is launching a rocket. You're playing as Van Arkride again, but he's not alone. Reen Schwarzer is back, and even Kevin Graham is back. The Onion Priest has finally returned to the main cast after being absent for over a decade. That alone is enough to put this at number 1. They've added this new awakening mechanic and a thing where you can chain attacks between the two modes seamlessly. It feels faster, heavier, and way more cinematic. Trails Beyond the Horizon is launching on January 15th, 2026 for the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and of course, PC. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and also turn on the notification. Also, don't forget to drink water and get some sun. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.